I've been meditating for many years, probably 15 years. And this challenge really helped me, I think, develop the mental pathway, the mental grooves to make this practice a regular daily part of my life. And I'm still continuing on. I finished the challenge 4 days ago or 3 days ago. I'm on day 47 or 48. And it's just like I've carved this new rut in my mind and in my life. And it's just become a part of my life. And I look forward to it every day. I look forward to getting out of bed in the morning and sitting, getting quiet and going within myself. And I look forward to bookending my night every evening with my meditation practice. So it's really helped me just establish a very powerful daily practice, which serves all day long.
Hi, I'm Christopher Stubbs, founder of the Wolf Pack, where we are committed to creating absolutely thriving lives in our health, our finances, our relationships, our spirituality, and to creating a world that we are excited to hand off to our children in a world of change, in a world of all kinds of possibilities, creating a life experience for ourselves and our loved ones where we thrive in every way possible. If you haven't joined us yet in our free community, check us out on Facebook, The Wolf Pack. You'll see the link in the description or comments below. I'll see you on the other side. Hello, everybody. We're about to have a very powerful conversation. Matthew reached out to me years ago and inspired me to begin a group called the Men of Sovereignty. We've been rolling together ever since then with some of the most powerful men I've ever met, and we've accomplished just tremendous, tremendous things. And another thing that's been born out of that is this very group, the Wolf Pack. And the Wolf Pack is a powerful movement, but it's not only a movement, it's a stillness. And you'll know more about that when needed. But in this call, you're going to gain insights to what we're offering here in the Wolf Pack around the Warrior 44 Challenge. The Warrior 44 Challenge is related to the most powerful shift that's ever taken place in my life. So I have invested more than $1 million in personal development over the last 30 years and have dived to depths that I've rarely seen others do. And out of all the amazing discoveries of tools and processes and systems and resources that I've ever found for success and thriving in your relationships, thriving in your finances, thriving in your business, thriving in your spirituality, thriving in your health, the culmination of what I call true wealth is thriving in the highest ways possible that most people, most men don't even know exist. Having a lifestyle that is more balanced, more abundant, more aligned than most men know exist. And we've been doing a tremendous work and achieving just tremendous levels of success on so many levels in the investor world and the business world and the relationship world and the parenting world. It's just phenomenal, the work we've been doing. And Matthew is the most recent person to complete the Warrior 44 Challenge, which is essentially an initiation into the Warrior Rite of Passage. And as we embody 4 primary archetypes, the warrior, the lover, the alchemist, and the king, life becomes much more abundant and much more amazing in so many ways. So Matthew, thank you so much for joining us. Matthew is one of the most integrous and committed men I have ever seen, who, when he commits to something, he follows through. And so I invited Matthew to be on the show because, unlike many men and many ways that I have started things and not followed through to completion, Matthew did the entire Warrior 44 Challenge, where we do a meditation both morning and night, and he did not miss one meditation the entire time through the 44 days. And Matthew's going to be sharing with us as him and I dialogue back and forth, learnings and takeaways and insights, and we'll both just dialogue in a way that adds as much value as possible to you as you watch through this, and hopefully it'll inspire you. The Warrior 44 Challenge is free. It's similar to the 75 Hard. 75 Hard brings you to a level of mental discipline. Warrior 44 brings you to mental mastery. I'm not saying that you beat a mental mastery in 44 days. Warrior 44 gives you everything. It will deeply hone your mental discipline and mental mastery, and it gives you everything you need to be able to carry forward with the practice and achieve mental mastery, which you will later find is absolutely fucking key to creating in the most powerful and effective ways. So Matthew, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, and it's an honor to be here, Christopher. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So maybe just give us an overview. You committed, you'd already been meditating, you'd already done a lot of work for a long time, and you committed to Warrior 44. Just from the heart, what's the first things that come to mind about that you would share about your experience with Warrior 44?
Yeah, thank you very much. I reflecting upon this conversation, I've identified a handful of big takeaways. Like, what were the big things for me that I really found that I found through this work together, through this challenge. And I think the biggest one for me, and I think what I'll share is in no particular order. I think it's important to say that. It's hard to say what's the most important. For me, one of the biggest ones, I'll reference one of your recent quotes, Christopher. And you recently made a Facebook post that said, if all you get from your meditation is the ability to tell your mind where to focus, it'll be worth a millionfold. And for me, building the daily discipline and the daily habit, as you've mentioned, I've been meditating for many years, probably 15 years, but I've been inconsistent and irregular in my practice. And this challenge really helped me, I think, develop the mental pathway, the mental grooves to make this practice a regular daily part of my life. And I mean, I'm still continuing on. I finished the challenge 4 days ago or 3 days ago. I'm on day 47 or 48. And it's just like I've carved this new rut in my mind and in my life, and it's just become a part of my life. And I look forward to it every day. I look forward to getting out of bed in the morning and sitting, getting quiet and going within myself. And I look forward to bookending my night every evening with my meditation practice. So it's really helped me just establish a very powerful daily practice, which serves all day long.
So beautiful. Thank you. So I want to accentuate in a moment. I would like you to answer what are the primary benefits you're experiencing so far by bookending the beginning and ending of your day with like in this way. But before we go there, one of the things I noticed going through it myself was the piece you spoke about, just developing and creating that groove to bring the consistency. I find that to be a breakthrough in and of itself. Because when you consider that the way we do one thing is the way we do many things or most things, if we can't consistently commit to, let's say a 20-minute practice morning and a 20-minute practice night, or whatever we need to commit to, and commit to it, we know we need to commit to it, we feel it, we're inspired, we know it's of service, we choose it. And if we don't follow through, that means there's probably a dozen other ways that we're doing the same thing in our relationship with our wife or our kids or our health or our finances or our business, that marketing campaign, whatever the thing may be. And so that and that alone, if all you got was, hey, when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Oh my God, how life-changing is that? So that's one thing. And the fruits of that labor pay endlessly. It's the gift that keeps giving, right? The more you develop that mental mastery and that ability to commit to hard things and follow through, it changes so much about life. Now, the second piece is as we go inside and we take that even deeper. So one, just implementing the habit is life-changing. But now the habit itself is life-changing on an even more profound level of when you get in there. And one of the things we know through our studies is that the greatest addiction to mankind is thinking. And through the work of Michael Singer, we know that every time something happens outside of us that takes us out of our a place of power, that the we rush to our head to try to resolve it. And so if we know that basically one of the, probably the biggest crippling factor of being a human is rushing to the head every time life don't go our way, that's the greatest addiction and the number one thing we turn to. When you go into this internal game of directing that focus to a focal point or two of choice, or sometimes more. In the Warrior 44, it's 2 focal points. And as you get more and more advanced in the lover, the wizard, and the king, or the alchemist and the king, sometimes you get up to at least 6 focal points. But starting with the 2 focal points, we found to be most effective. But in that, gaining that ability to direct where your mind focuses, I cannot overstate the value and importance of that. If you accomplish both those things in Warrior 44, there's nothing else out there. No challenge, no program, no nothing. There's like I could charge high ticket just to deliver this free challenge because of the inherent and vast value. So Matthew, if you want to comment on that, all of that, including the bookends thing I brought up earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love your idea around how I do anything is how I do everything, because that's written right into the Men of Sovereignty Manifesto and the Wolfpack Manifesto. So I've got that written down because, as you spoke to, whenever how I do anything is how I do everything. So whenever I commit, whenever I'm devoted in one area of my life, that cascades and translates to all aspects of my life. And whenever I give up, whenever I quit, whenever I don't follow through on my commitments, I'm giving myself permission to do it in other areas of my life. And it absolutely translates. And you mentioned 75 Hard is another example of it's more than just a physical challenge. It's about cultivating, I think, commitment to oneself, to the things that matter most. So I want to say that. I would love to say that in today's world of distraction everywhere, they call it the attention economy. And that's because everything is vying for our attention. This conversation here today, your cell phone, your screens, commercials on television, everything is vying for your attention. It's the greatest commodity. And as you mentioned, Christopher, the ability to focus one's attention and place it on the highest priority items and where it matters most, I think is a crucial capability in today's ever distracting world. So placing our attention on what matters most and the ability to do that in a very intentional way. As it relates to the bookends piece, you've made a great distinction, I think, in our conversations and our weekly calls, a distinction between silence and stillness. Silence and stillness. So a lot of people think I can't meditate because my mind's too busy and too active. It's just not for me. And to that, I always like to say, well, that's why we call it a practice, because we're practicing, first of all. But I think the more important point is we're not necessarily trying to shut our minds down. I think more importantly, we're attempting to tune in and we're attempting to cultivate that stillness that you speak to. And one thing I find that's going back to the bookending piece, when I start my day and end my day with meditation, I still and I quiet my mind and my spirit, and I'm able to navigate life in a much more peaceful, I think, and resilient way. And in today's increasingly chaotic world, like, what's more important than inner peace and quietness and stillness?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful share. Thank you, brother. One of my favorite quotes that I heard from Jesse Elder, I'm not sure where it came from, but it says, taking uninspired action is like having sex with your clothes on. And in our men's group, we track, one of the very first things we track each week is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank your level of power, clarity, and inspiration? Power meaning like my energy's gathered. There's a fire in my belly. There's a passion. I'm on purpose. I'm like in center. I'm fucking ready, right? I'm locked, loaded, and ready. Clarity. I know exactly where I'm going. I know who the fuck I am. I know what the fuck I'm up to. I know what my purpose is. I know who I'm serving. I know what my next moves are. So I'm in clarity. Inspiration. Because if we're taking uninspired action, It's like having sex with your clothes on. And if you prefer a clothes off experience in your life with your money, with all the things, if you want life to be the most satisfying and fulfilling and connected and all the amazing things you might look for in sex, if you would want that level of connection and joy and love and intimacy and presence and pleasure and goodness, then it make a lot of sense to figure out whatever it takes to be inspired constantly, to have your business, your relation, everything in your life be directed by inspiration, by your higher self, not your lower heart, lower mind, your cravings and your addictions and your avoidances, but instead driven by passion and purpose, right? And so that's another key value I get from the meditation aspect, is in that stillness comes so much power, clarity, and inspiration. And when we look at the work of Joe Dispenza and all the other greats out there, we absolutely know that the fastest and easiest and the most enjoyable form of creation is that from flow states, that from elevated states of being, where we be, do, have, rather than do, have, be, where we identify with what we believe we will feel after we achieve a thing or obtain a thing, and we learn and master the ability to feel that thing now. And through that, the inspired action takes place. And through that, we achieve much greater levels of success, much faster and easier and much more enjoyable. Anything you would add to that?
You made a great distinction in one of our recent calls, and you said that to the conversation of be, do, have, you said that our being work actually sets us up for our doing work. You know, and I find that maybe one of the most important things that I think meditation helps us do is to get quiet and to tune in to source, to spirit, and to the voice of God, or whatever you might call it. And to me, when I'm quiet and when I can really tune in, we all have that divine connection, that innate intelligence that wants to speak and come through to us. But I think due to this ever increasingly distractive world vying for our attention, we can't hear it because we're not quiet enough. And I think one of the most beautiful gifts of our meditation practice is, as we cultivate that stillness, that quietness, we can tune in and really tune in to the voice of God, to direction, to guidance from source, spirit, universal intelligence, whatever your word is for it. And as we do that, it's like, as Jesse Elder would call it, it's like downloading instructions right from cosmic Google. You know, it's like, I know what to do. I'm tapped in, I'm tuned in. I know the next step. I might not always see the full path, but I always know the next step because I'm always working on my connection, my relationship with that.
Yes. And I feel to bring us next to what I believe the time and the season and chapter that we're in as a society. I see politics in array. I see inflation running amok. I see men struggling with debt and an incredible burden. Like, I believe Atlas is about to fucking shrug. Like, I'm done. I'm not going to be crushed under this motherfucker. I see a need for schooling systems to be redone. I see a need for politics to be redone. Like, we need a rehaul of the financial system and the food system and so many things, right? And I mean, if we're not going to change that, who is? And we're at a rate of change now that's something like 4 times greater than it was 10 years ago. I don't remember the exact statistics, but something like 400% increase over the last 10 years. And something like substantially greater than that coming over the next 10 years. And so when you look at the level of chaos the world is already in, and you look at the rate of change that is accelerating with AI and modern technology and all the things that are changing and are set to change, now more than ever, if a man doesn't, like, if we're out in the wild, every survival person will tell you the number one skill is your ability to keep a level head, right? And those who believe that you're going to be able to continue operating the way you're operating and have operated to this date and haven't developed and honed in on the level of mental mastery to be the calm in the storm, no matter what the fuck comes down the pipe for us collectively over the coming months and years, you're in for a really rough storm, a really rough ride. And so we can't over accentuate the value and importance of literally a free challenge that is promised to deliver some of the greatest goods in life as we know it and life as it may be. And it's very clear that the future does not belong to the learned. It belongs to the learning. It belongs to those who choose to evolve and grow and expand into the next greatest version of themselves over and over again, and constantly arm ourselves with more and more empowering tool sets and tools and mindsets and abilities so that we can navigate anything. Like we originally started off with the unfuckwithable man challenge, and this is still along those same lines, but in a more refined and simplified form that would get you there faster. It's how do we get you to be a formidable force to be reckoned with that cannot be shaken from your course, cannot be derailed, that no matter what the fuck comes, you're ready for it. And the time is far fucking spent. We are beyond the 11th hour. And so I just can't speak passionately enough on, guys, everyone watching this, please, like, I don't want to see you go through struggles you don't need to go through. I don't want to see you suffer unnecessarily. I don't want to see you have to navigate this shit alone in lone wolf syndrome. And I don't want to see you getting hit and blindsided by shit that you could have been prepared for. And I don't want to see you having to navigate the storm without the proper tools, the compass, the whatever it is that would make you capable of navigating whatever storm may come. If you were to tie that back, Matthew, to what you've been getting through your meditation practice, through the Warrior 44, through the Men of Sovereignty group, what comes up for you?
Two things come up for me. One is just going back to the conversation around tuning into source, tuning into God, tuning into that divine inspiration. A lot of people say that they don't have that connection. I think it's important to recognize that it's just like any relationship, we get to work to build that connection, that relationship. If we don't invest in it, if we don't put time into it, then of course the relationship's not there. But the more we devote ourselves and we practice and we invest in that relationship, the stronger the channel grows. So I find this daily practice really helps us connect with whatever that might be for you, however you might understand it. And I would venture to say that to Christopher's point of the chaos, the uncertainty, the confidence, that's one of the greatest things that I've developed through my time in the Men of Sovereignty in this community is self-confidence and self-certainty, anti-fragility, as they call it. Maybe I don't have everything figured out now, but I know I've got my connection, my relationship with God. And if I can learn to listen, I always know the next right step. And that gives me great peace of mind. And that helps me just live a much more peaceful life.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant share, priceless share. There's an old Asian proverb, I don't remember which country, but they tell the story that the master was pouring the tea into the student's cup and the cup's overflowing and he just keeps pouring. And the student's like, "Master, it's overflowing." He's like, "Yeah, I'm teaching you a lesson. This is like trying to teach you when you think you know it all. When you're not in child mind, you're not in curiosity and wonder and openness to learning. And, so when you really want to learn, you have to empty out what you think you know." Right. And so you talked about relationship with source or God or divinity or whatever it may be. And you talked about listening. Well, I've been studying relationships for many decades now, immensely. We've got one mouth and two ears. And if there were only one tool that you could teach on how to have a thriving relationship, it would become masterful at listening, which requires you giving a high level of presence and the word you used, attention. And so the internet wants our attention. All the marketers want our attention. McDonald's wants our attention. And they're all doing a lot to get it, right? And yet we know probably one of the most important things we could do. We all innately on some level know that we really ought to have a connection with God, right? There's this infinite truth that points that that's critical. I mean, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, all else will be added unto you. Ask and ye shall receive, right? Ask and listen might be a refinement to that, but, or, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know, right? And so it's literally been laid out right in front of our eyes. And yet, how often do we create stillness? Almost never. Almost never, literally almost never. And so if we were to be still and ask and listen and give our attention, just like we need to do with our kids and our spouse, and we prioritize that relationship with Source at least as much as those relationships, it's pretty easy to see that there would be a worthwhile relationship that would maybe bless our lives more than anything else ever could. So, Matthew, what were some of the primary struggles you ran into, like in your own mind, like counter commitments, voices in your head trying to talk you out of it? What are some of those challenges or hurdles that you came up against?
Yeah. I love your saying that every time we make a commitment, our counter commitments show up. I think that's a really important idea to tune into. And it's really evident when you do make big commitments. I heard a great man say many years ago, he said that that voice that we're all very familiar with, that shows up to tell us to break our commitments to ourselves, that voice shows up as our friend. He shows up as your buddy. He says, hit the snooze. You deserve it. You've been working hard all week. You had a long week. You deserve it. You know what? Eat the junk food. You deserve it. You've been doing good on your diet. You deserve a break. Watch the porn. Do the drugs. Whatever it is, right? So that voice, I think we're all very familiar with. He shows up as your buddy, but it really shows up to sabotage.
Yep.
So it's important to recognize that distinction. So for me, I ran into all those excuses. It was early in the morning. I got too much to do. I don't have time. Right? There's a beautiful saying in the Buddhist tradition that says, if you don't think you have 20 minutes to sit, then you need to sit for an hour.
Yeah.
So I think I'm too busy. And I always tell my guys in my community, like, if you can't sit for 5 minutes, well, that's exactly why you need to cultivate your meditation practice. That's exactly the reason why. So all the excuses came up, man. Too busy, too late in the day, too much going on. I don't need it. This is dumb. What's the point of just sitting here? And then, of course, the late at night ones. I'm tired. I'm fine. I need to get to bed. Those are the big ones for me. It's just too much going on. Don't need to do it. Need to get to bed. Have more important stuff to do. But that's the excuse that shows up anytime we have a commitment, whether it's the gym, whether it's our family, whether it's high priority work items, whatever it is. Those are the common counter commitments we often run into.
Yes. Great shares. Thank you. So what about in your meditation practice? Did you have feelings and thoughts like, fuck, my mind's busy? Let's say you're meditating and this particular one, some shit went down beforehand. You got monkey mind going on. Did you have voices going like, fuck, this isn't even helpful? Like, why can't I get this? Why won't this voice shut up? You'd think I'd be further along with this by now. Does this shit even work? Like things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even just last night, I was sitting in my meditation, frustrated and irritated, wanting to blow it off or lay down or change my position and fidget. But man, that's the work, is to cultivate that stillness. And I think what's important is learning to be able to see it, because I think oftentimes we're operating unconscious to the fidgeting, the uneasiness, the emotional turmoil that's going on, all the noise. But the meditation practice helps us to slow down and to cultivate awareness and begin to see it, and then cultivate the capacity to sit with it and be present with it. And I think that's where our emotional capacity is developed.
Yes. So I see different people that take on the challenge. Some of them are advanced meditators. and they sit down, but they haven't meditated in this format. I happen to have the fortune to be taught one of the most ancient, yet simple, yet transformative and empowering meditation techniques in the world that we're implementing in this challenge. And after meditating for decades and never getting near to the place that this has taken me, and these people that are more advanced in meditation, they get in and they have a good experience. It's just average. It's as good as what they've been doing at the beginning, right? And then they do it for a while, and they're going, I don't know, is this special? I don't know. I kind of like the meditation I've been doing, or I like that Joe Dispenza thing, or I enjoy breath more. And then they go divert and do something else. That's one of the things I see. And other things I've seen is I think I should switch it up. Let me alter the technique this way because I don't think this is working, right? Or I'll see people go, well, it's just really not working. Like I sit down, I meditate, and all I have is all these thoughts, and they won't stop, and I get all anxious and anxiety, and it feels like I'm doing worse. Or I see the person who dives in and they immediately have the most profound experience. They go to absolute stillness and joy and wholeness and sovereignty and clarity and power and inspiration and all the things. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm going to do it every day, twice a day. I'm going to double or triple the amount of time I'm doing it. And then they get a week or 2 or 3 in and they start hitting deep samskaras, deep patterns, deep pains, and then all those other symptoms I described before surface. And then they come to me going, I don't know, I think I might need to change it up. I think I'm doing it wrong. I don't know what happened. It was going amazing, and now it's just miserable. And they're always seeking more advice, and I like it. I want the check-ins. But the advice is always the same. There's a point where they hit a new stage, and I need to know the evolution of it so that I can give them the next steps to take it further. So I want the check-ins to keep coming. But it's like all of that shit that's surfacing is exactly what the fuck you want to surface and relate to differently. All that shit that's happening that you think you're doing wrong, that shouldn't be happening, that you're resisting and you're judging and you're wishing would go away and you're trying to fix. Again, the way you do one thing is the way you do all things. So shit surfaces in your life and you go to judging and assessing and intellectualizing and figuring out and thinking you need to run from it or fix it or change it, when what the fuck you need to do is sit down and be still and tap into the higher truth and come to that stillness. The first stage of the warrior is to develop the ability to generate that stillness at will. That's the key to unlocking becoming a fucking creator instead of a victim. What would you say to all of that, like based on your personal experience?
Oh, yeah, man. Generating the ability, cultivating the capacity to be able to generate stillness at will, then you're the master of yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what we're doing. When I sit down to meditate and I feel anger come up, I feel this emotional turmoil, I feel frustration, I feel this chattery mind.
The discomfort in the body.
The discomfort in the body.
Like, because you mentioned that, you're like, oh, I want to fidget, I want to move, I want to adjust. And that's the temptation. Like, I'm just comfortable. I need to, lay down. I need to lean my back against a wall. I need to,
right.
Like every fucking thing is part of the distraction that's vying for your attention, right? The pain in the body, the discomfort, the busyness of the mind, the noises out there, all those distractions. It's saying, hey, you can't fucking distract me. I'm the captain of my ship. This is my fucking body, my fucking life. I'm taking over the helm of this ship because I'm done having all these non-essential aspects of me run the fucking show.
Right. And I think it's through this, cultivating this capacity and this ability and this mastery, it's a form of mastery, I would say, is how we become the true captains of our ship and the true master of ourselves and our lives, because I think the meditation practice helps us begin to see all the stuff that's going on inside of us. You always talk about how the importance of making the unconscious conscious. And meditation helps us make the unconscious conscious. It helps us see these things. And also, once we can begin to see these things, we can see the things driving us, and we no longer need to be a slave to the things, these patterns and these cycles and these things that we keep returning to, because we can see it and we don't need to react to it anymore because we're not just operating unconsciously.
Non-reaction is key, and it's all about neutrality and non-judgment, non-resistance, right? So it's developing the capacity to sit with any distraction, any discomfort, any emotion, any thought that may arise, and not need to do anything about it, not need to react to it. That I develop the ability to go, nothing's bigger than me. There's nothing that could arise in me that's bigger than me. And as we get that ability, the deepest level of trust, you talked about, self-confidence, self-worth. Part of that is trust in self. And when you gain the trust that you're like, there is literally nothing that could happen in my life that is bigger than me. There is nothing in my life that can take me out of the game. And I'm talking as a guy who has had a gun in my throat more than once. And for most of my life had the desire when shit got rough to blow my brains out. And to know there is and I mean no, not intellectually. I fucking know deep into my bones, there's nothing this life can deliver that is bigger than me. Now, there's things that could knock me on my ass. Death of my child, that'll knock me on my ass, right? But it's not bigger than me. I know that I can navigate any fucking thing life can throw at me. That's come from many years of having some intense shit thrown at me. But I know that, and especially by far since discovering and integrating what we're sharing here.
Yes.
So we've only got a few minutes left. I want to make some quick references, like the power of this for me. One example, I wanted to make an extra $100,000 in a week because I had some awesome opportunities I want to take advantage of. And I went into meditation and applied some of the techniques, got the clarity, power, and inspiration, acted on those, and within 3 days generated $97,500 with the greatest ease I've ever generated money in my life. I've taken my relationship from divorce papers in hand, attorneys signed, and believed that there's nothing I could do to turn it around, to having the deepest level of harmony and peace and mutual respect, and having all the toxicity eliminated. There's lots of progress to be had in deepening the levels of joy and fun and intimacy and all the things. But there's no more drama or chaos whatsoever in my relationship. Zero. And that's one of the greatest accomplishments in my life. Parenting wise, the greatest level of harmony and peace and joy and growth with my kids and connection I've ever experienced. So intimacy, finances, parenting, peace and joy and balance in my life. This has blessed me with all of these things. And I know it's blessing different men on different levels, at different paces and in different ways. I know it's blessed your life tremendously, Matthew. So would love to talk more, but I want to honor, I know you have a call coming up in a few minutes. What would you say to those out there watching this about, like, dude, the Warrior 44, it delivers everything that the 75 hard delivers on developing the mental discipline to actually commit and follow through, right? Which is key. But it also delivers actual mental mastery on allowing your soul to direct your mind instead of your cravings and your addictions and your avoidances to direct your life and your mind and your heart. That makes what we're offering everything that 75 hard is, plus so much more. And it's simple. It's about half the amount of time required on days, about half the amount of time per day. And it's sitting in the comfort of your own home in a very comfortable position on a seated bed or chair or cushion in whatever. You don't even have to be cross-legged. You can be sitting up just like I'm sitting up now and do this in the comfort of your own home with air conditioning on, right? Like this yields the greatest return I could possibly offer anybody. So what would you say to those watching who are curious about Warrior 44 or interested or that are just now learning from it about it?
I say do it. I say jump into the Wolfpack Facebook group, watch Christopher's invitation and instructions on how to do it. If you feel like you can't do it, that's exactly the reason you need to do it. And it's much like exercise. If we're stuck on the couch, we can't see the value of exercise until we get in movement. So there's a degree of trust required here. And so I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to devote myself to this long enough to witness the fruits for myself. And once you see the fruits, then you'll be encouraged on your own. And what I would secondly offer is, Christopher, I think it's very generous and benevolent that you offer this challenge free, but I think you should charge $10,000 for this challenge so people take it seriously and really get the value that's here. So I'm going to continue to encourage Christopher to charge a high dollar amount for this challenge. So I would say jump in on it while it's free.
Thank you so much, brother.
Welcome.
We'll give you everything we've got. You don't have to do it perfect. If you feel like you can't do it, no, you don't have to do it perfect. We're not going to beat you up. We're going to fortify you. We're going to support you. And, my encouragement would be commit to the 44 days. If you miss a day, start over. And let's do it until you finish it. And if you do that, it will absolutely change your life. And for now, it's free as free can be. We'll give you everything we've got for nothing nothing from you, nothing put in other than your commitment and your time. And we're here to support you all the way through. So thank you for watching. Matthew, thank you so much. Have an amazing rest of the day. See you soon.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I hope you extracted the value from the conversation that we shared. I will be having additional conversations with members of the Wolfpack where they share their insights and their learning and their growth, their breakthroughs, their successes. And we share these in an effort to help you glean from them to fuel your own success. And if you haven't joined us in our free community, join us on Facebook, the Wolfpack. You'll see the link in the description or comments below. We'll see you there.